You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Golden State Warriors played well defensively, but did not have enough firepower on offense to overcome the Indiana Pacers, falling 111-105 at Chase Center. Steph Curry was held down all night long by stifling defense from Andrew Nembhard and the rest of the Indiana Pacers, only scoring 10 points on 2 of 13 shooting from the field. It's the 5th consecutive win for the Pacers, while the Warriors have lost 4 of their last 5. But despite the loss, the Warriors played a much better brand of basketball than they have in recent weeks. Pods continues to find himself again with the addition of Dennis Schroeder and TJD, showing us the importance of having an effective big man scoring in the paint. We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And in this one, again, the Warriors had a shot to win this game. That Miles Turner dagger 3 at the end there, basically putting this one out of reach. But the Warriors, again, free throws down the stretch continue to be a problem for this team. It seems like free throws are going to be an issue all season long, even though they were a little bit better tonight than they have been in recent weeks, or really this season. They were actually 71% from the line. But, I mean, in those closing minutes, just atrocious free throw shooting. The Warriors couldn't find any real offense going down late in this game. And again, the Warriors really just don't have a second option in these closing minutes when Steph doesn't have it. And tonight, Steph really didn't have it. Just 2 of 13 shooting. But credit Nembhard. I mean, this guy was just, bottling Steph up from the start of this game. And they just drew the assignment, never really left his side for picking him up almost full court through most of this one. Steph really never got open for any really clean looks. He had a couple of them, but in 2 of 9 from 3, did hit all 4 of his shots from the charity stripe and had 7 assists. Steph, the only starter with a positive plus-minus tonight, but still, not enough scoring from this team. In today's day and age, 105 points isn't going to win you very many basketball games, and the Warriors just couldn't score. Draymond Green missed about 10 minutes in this one after he did come back. He missed 10 minutes with an injury, went back to the locker room, did return after about in the third quarter, late in the third quarter with the Warriors down 6. So Draymond Green coming back in this one, I thought would give the Warriors a little bit of an extra lift defensively compared to what we saw in their last outing against the Wolves. And I think that's kind of what we saw tonight from the Warriors. This is a really tough Pacers team on offense. They want to push the pace. They want to run. They score a ton of points. This team is very solid offensively, and they love to share the ball, passing the ball around. So the Pacers, they're top 10 in scoring, and they really showed it tonight. So the Warriors doing a good job keeping pace with them, although the transition points were a little bit tough tonight. The Pacers dominating that category 26-10. So the Warriors got run off the court by the Pacers in some ways of this game. But again, the runouts, so many free, easy buckets for the Pacers in transition. The Warriors really just weren't up to the task to try to guard this team. And the Pacers, on the back end of a back-to-back, they played against the Kings last night. I thought the Warriors would be able to kind of wear them down as this one progressed into the fourth quarter. But the Pacers still outscore the Warriors in that fourth quarter, 22-20. And you got to start being able to close out these games. Another clutch minutes loss. The Warriors' defense has been fine in these games. The defense is not the problem. It's the scoring. And we had Jonathan Kuminga tonight, 26 points to lead the way off the bench. That's great. And I'm glad that Kuminga's taken more steps forward. But in those clutch minutes, in those crunch time moments, last 2-3 minutes of the game, when Steph is not going to get a clean look, you have to have another option that you can rely on. And right now, the Warriors just don't. I mean, Andrew Wiggins is shaky in those moments. I mean, he was 7 for 16 from the field, but just 1 of 7 from 3. And I mean, 16 points, a minus 15 plus minus. It's just not what you want to see. And again, the Warriors playing, an uphill battle after the first quarter in this one where they just turn the ball over constantly. And if you can stop putting yourself in these holes to start with, maybe you don't have to dig yourself out of them at the ends of games. So, I mean, ultimately, they only finished with 11 turnovers. They really shored up the turnovers in the second half. But again, if you're just a little bit smarter with the ball in the first half, if you can find some other options to score going down the stretch, maybe this thing doesn't become so close. I mean, the Warriors need another option down the stretch. It's really as simple as that, in my opinion. I mean, Steph tonight, I mean, the Warriors, when Steph is not scoring more than 15 points this season, the Warriors are 1-4. I mean, they've only won once when Steph scores less than 15 points this year in 2024-2025 season. So you really need another scorer for this Warriors team. Jonathan Kuminga is nice, and we're seeing him take steps forward, and this is, a positive thing, if for nothing else than to boost his trade value, because he's not going to be a guaranteed 20 points a night, and you need that. You need somebody that you can rely on in these waning moments of games, someone that you can put the ball in their hands and you know that they're going to go get a bucket. And the Warriors, again, we've been saying this all season long, but they don't have another guy on this roster who can just go get a bucket whenever he wants to, besides sometimes Jonathan Kuminga when he's feeling frisky. You know what I mean? And Steph has been pretty solid at points in time this season. We've still seen moments of Steph Curry, but we're seeing a lot more games like this from him this year than we have pretty much any other season. I can't remember this many games where Steph just feels like a non-factor offensively, and he just can't get the ball in his hands. And teams are just denying him the ball, and the Warriors are having a hard time getting him open. They're running him off all these screens and stuff still, but teams are much more willing to leave all of these other Warriors players to help off of them and deny Steph the ball and force other players to beat you. And the Warriors, those other players aren't stepping up as much as you need them to. Tonight, the bench performed really well with Kuminga in his 26 points off the bench. Buddy Hield, 13 as well off the bench. But everybody else, the scoring was down for the most part. Brandon Podziemski, only 5 points off the bench, but I did think that he showed us more positive than negative again tonight for Podziemski. We're going to talk about him later on in the show. But again, got to find a second scorer. TJD, I felt like was a great option for this group of starters tonight. I came out effectively again with that strong pick and roll game, really running to the rim with aggression and looking to score. And he was 6 of 9 from the field. But again, this isn't a very reliable source of scoring. You need somebody else to pass that Steph can pass the torch to, and that can put in some points for this Warriors team. It's really, I mean, it's pretty simple. We have talked about it all season long. The Warriors have been looking for that number 2 to Steph Curry since Klay Thompson left in the offseason. They've been looking for that guy. We thought Lauri Markkanen might be the trade target in the offseason, and now it's, that didn't get done. Paul George didn't work out. The Warriors, clearly, they know. Mike Dunleavy knows that you guys got to go add another guy. And, you wanted to see what the roster was going to look like with the addition of Dennis Schroeder. But at this time, I think we know what this roster is. It's still offensively inept. Even with Steph Curry out there, it's clunky. It's not effective. And against teams like the Pacers, who aren't really, one of the better defensive teams in the NBA, for you to only score 105 points against them, you got to be better than that offensively. You got to have something else other than just Steph Curry to throw at your opponents. Although it is Steph Curry, you can't just do this every single night. And when Steph's off, the Warriors offense just does not flow, does not run at all. You got to have a backup option. You got to have another way to go win a game. If you limit your ways to win, you're not going to win very many games in any professional sport, but especially in the NBA. If you only have one way to go win a game, other teams are going to key in on that and stop you. And that's exactly what the NBA has done to the Warriors all season long, especially since DeAnthony Melton got hurt. DeAnthony Melton's injury was massive for this team, much bigger than I think a lot of people in the national basketball lexicon really noted. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And yes, Schroeder does help a lot of situations, like the Brandon Podziemski situation, for instance, like the Trace Jackson Davis situation, for instance. but he's not going to just add, 15 to 20, maybe 25 points a night. You're not going to get that from Dennis Schroeder. You got to go get another guy who can have the ball in the moments in these clutch situations where when Steph is being double teamed in these final moments and you got an open guy on the perimeter, that guy's going to knock the shot down. I don't know a single player on the Warriors other than Steph Curry that I trust taking shots in closing minutes right now. They all make me hold my breath, each and every one of them. And it's been a luxury that we've had here for a long, long time, that there's been so many guys that can take those final shots in those waning moments. Shout out Max Kellerman and I want Iguodala and all those guys that have come through this franchise. Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson. I mean, so many big bucket or big shot makers and big shot takers in the Warriors uniforms in the last 5, 6, 7 years. There's really only one of them right now wearing Golden State uniform, and that's Steph Curry. Everybody else on this team, I do not trust them in the waning moments. I do not trust them in clutch minutes to score. Defensively, they're like, I think we saw the stat in the NBC broadcast tonight. They're like third best in defensive efficiency in clutch minutes, but offensively, it's like bottom 5, bottom 10 in every measurable statistic. This Warriors team needs something else offensively. You got to go do it, and you got to go do it now. The urgency behind this is high, super high urgency to go get this done now, because if you don't, you let wins like this slip away. You look at the schedule coming up, and it's a lot of teams that the Warriors are kind of close with. They're neck and neck with. Like, are they much better than the Lakers? I mean, I think that they're two pretty evenly matched teams. The Clippers, I think, are slightly better than the Warriors, but then you got the Suns, you get the Cavs again. So I mean, the schedule gets a little bit easier, but not much. I mean, after that, you get the Sixers, the Grizzlies, the Kings. So I mean, the next couple weeks still kind of tough before it starts to get a little bit easier. You start to get the Detroits and the Torontos of the world after that. But I mean, this has just been a gauntlet of a schedule. But you need to start being competitive in some of these games. You're not going to be competitive with some of these better teams until you get a better roster, until you get a more competitive roster. Surround Stephen Curry with more talent. You owe it to him. No more. I mean, we've talked about this before. The 2 timeline thing does not work, as was evidenced by the James Wiseman situation. I do not care about the future development of Jonathan Kuminga. You got Steph Curry on the roster right now. You go trade whoever you need to go get a second star to put here in Golden State with Steph while he still has the opportunity to propel you to a championship. Because as we said earlier in the show, Steph's games like this where he's going, 2 of 13 from the field are becoming more and more frequent, and he needs that help. He can't do it all alone anymore. You need to go get Steph some help. He has had a little bit of more help from his running mates lately, namely TJD and Brandon Pajemski. I want to talk about those two guys coming up next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. TJD showing us why it is so essential to have a big man that can score. We'll talk about that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by Skylight Frames. If you come from a big family, it can be hard and expensive to buy each one a personal gift for the holidays. We've got the perfect gift for you. Skylight Frame is the touchscreen digital photo frame your whole family will love. Upload thousands of photos with your phone and watch them appear in just seconds. It's so easy to use, and setup takes less than 60 seconds. And we got to talk about seamless sharing. Invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email with no account or subscription required. Add new photos straight from your phone from anywhere. It only takes a tap on your phone to send new photos to a frame, even if it's across the country. It's the fastest, easiest way to keep your loved ones in the loop. They'll feel so much more connected to you. And of course, satisfaction is guaranteed. We're confident that you'll love Skylight. We offer free 120-day returns. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightframe.com/NBA. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NBA. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and tonight the Warriors, I think, showed us a little bit of something, even though they did lose to the Indiana Pacers, ultimately falling 111 to 105. But TJD and Brandon Podziemski, both with decent games tonight. I want to start with TJD. This guy, I mean, we have long been yearning, desperate for a big man here in the Bay Area that can just deliver in the post. And especially offensively, it's been a long time since the Warriors have had a really effective scorer in the paint, a big man that can score in the paint. I mean, Steph and others can, drive and get to the rim, but, you have not had a real force, a real dominant guy who can play with his back to the basket in the low block. I mean, maybe in my lifetime, I got the Andres Biedrich bobblehead sitting right here next to me during every show, but Andres was not the guy, and neither was Fezzi Fell, and neither was Bogut offensively. Bogut, an absolute force defensively. But it kind of reminded you tonight how nice it is when you have a big man that's scoring. Not just tonight, but TJD played a really great game in their last outing versus the Timberwolves as well. And it's been opening up the floor a little bit. When TJD runs to the rim the way he does, when he's aggressive off that pick and roll and looking to get to the hoop and slam it down, it changes the way that this Warriors offense runs. It makes teams have to play a little bit closer into the paint, help off of the makes them stay home a little bit more. It makes them help a little bit less onto those perimeter shooters that the Warriors have. So I think it's important that TJD continues to be this rim runner. We've seen him be pretty effective in this kind of role. Last year, Chris Paul helped TJD really, really blossom into a guy who really understood the pick and roll game, the high pick and roll really, really well. We haven't seen them utilize that as much, obviously, without Chris Paul. That's going to go away a little bit when you don't have a CP3 running your second unit. But you still got other great passers on this team. You still got Draymond Green and all sorts of other dudes who can find TJD when he's rolling to the hoop. He's just got to roll with some passion, with some aggression. And of course, he's got to figure out the timing with other guys. I feel like Chris Paul is just such a savant at figuring out that timing with big men. It's a little bit harder for anybody else on the face of this planet. But TJD figuring it out a little bit by little bit in these last couple games. And I think that could be something to watch going forward for this Warriors team. Don't expect TJD to do this every night. I do not expect Trayce Jackson-Davis to be a consistent 15 to 20 point scorer. That's completely ridiculous. But we did see a stretch last season at the end of the year where he was turning out double-double after double-double after double-double. And it's not ridiculous to think that this guy with 25, 30 minutes a night, that he could get, 8 to 9 boards and 10 to 15 points. I think that's very reasonable to expect from TJD. Now, if that 15 to 20 points could turn into a 15, or if that 10 to 15 points could turn into a 15 to 20 points, that would be a game changer for this Warriors team. It would be so just revolutionary for this Warriors offense if they could have a big man that was reliable on the interior. So you could have a nice inside-out game. The perimeter shots would open so much more up, and it just would help every aspect of this team defensively as well. They've been missing that inside anchor for a long time now, but it just allowed Draymond to go play that freelance style of defense that he's so good at if he doesn't have to just constantly take on the other team's biggest dude out there every single night. But again, TJD, I think, played some pretty good minutes tonight. He played some pretty good minutes in against Minnesota in their last contest. But TJD showing us something. I think it's important for this guy to continue to play well. Last year, he was a big key for the Warriors going down into that playoff play-in run at the end of the season, where Steve Kerr even said, Kevon Looney is going to have to take a little bit of a backseat because if we're going to be good, we need TJD to step up. And when he gave him the opportunity, he did. So I would personally like to see a little bit more opportunity for a Trayce Jackson-Davis, if nothing else, just out of necessity, because the Warriors play so much better, so much more complete basketball, much better style of offense when TJD is out there in the high pick and roll, running aggressively at the rim. He helps open up so many other things. But when he's not, when he's just, when he's popping off that pick and roll instead of rolling off the pick and roll, it's not very effective because not a damn soul is afraid of a Trayce Jackson-Davis mid-range jump shot. You got to figure out how to stay aggressive in that pick and roll and just get to the rim, run at the rim every single time, put the pressure on the defense, make them make a choice, guard the perimeter or guard the paint. And if TJD can continue to put pressure on the paint, I think that would help the Warriors substantially in what they're trying to do offensively. We saw one guy do a lot of stuff offensively for the Warriors tonight when not a lot of other people did really much of anything else. Jonathan Kuminga, we got to talk about him really briefly here. He has been so good for the Warriors in these last couple games. And again, I think that this is essential because if nothing else, it boosts his trade value. Jonathan Kuminga's trade value going up day by day, I think. And ultimately, I think he's going to be the piece that you have to move in order to go get someone of worth back, because you got to change the trajectory of this team. The Warriors, in their last 13 games, they're 3-10. Fourth quarter free throws, again, tonight, a big problem. Steph's only shooting 38% overall in December. It's not been a good situation. You've got to have another scorer. You've got to find a way to take off the burden from Steph Curry offensively. And there's a lot of things you can do. The TJD high pick and roll game, the rim running, that's one way that can lift a little bit of this pressure off. But again, the number one thing that the Warriors need to do is put together a trade package and go get more talent in this locker room, because Steph Curry can't do it alone. You need more talent on this talent deficient roster if you want to be taken seriously as a even a playoff team at this point. Right now, this team looks very much so like a play-in team if they even make it there. So got to do something, got to make a move. No more sitting back and evaluating what this team is. The time to make the move is now. Each game that passes by is a missed opportunity for a win, and each missed opportunity for a win is an opportunity to slide further down the standings and make it even harder come, February, March, to push your way back into the playoff discussion. So the Warriors really need to make a move now before it's too much later and they fall too much further out of the playoff standings. Again, with the loss today, the Warriors just showing us, that they're just not quite there, that they just need a little bit more than they've shown us. They're 15-13 on the season now, just 7-6 at home, sliding back down to that 500 record at home that we saw them finish with last year. So Warriors, again, fall 111-105 tonight. But positives, trying to be positive, bro. We talked about TJD and how he's been pretty good for the Warriors lately and how he needs to continue this aggressive rim running if the Warriors are going to continue to get better and continue to score points in the paint and free up that outside shot. But one other guy that is essential to the Warriors' success, both offensively and defensively, is Brandon Podziemski. And this guy has been really bad this year in a lot of moments, but these last couple games, he's been improving. We got to talk about it next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's episode is sponsored by Built Rewards. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Built, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks, and it's completely free to join. Earn valuable Built points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem rewards towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Built members. And I love using these points for travel, and Built makes it so easy to turn rent into rewards. If you're already paying rent, why not make it work for you? Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our link so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Today's show is also sponsored by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the latest live stats, view the latest live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Again, you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a moment and never waste a hunch, and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors fall 111-105 to the Indiana Pacers. And, just trying to find some positives, because it hasn't been very positive lately. The Warriors just 3-10 in their last 13 games, and the Warriors really struggling offensively right now. But there's one guy who's been much maligned this season that we all wonder why the Warriors didn't ship him out this offseason if he really was that pinch point in the Lowry, Markkanen trade. I'm, of course, talking about Brandon Podziemski. And Pods has been shaky, bad at various points in the season, especially offensively. He has looked lost as a primary ball handler for this second unit. With the addition of Dennis Schroeder, it takes some of that pressure off. And we have seen pretty immediate benefits for Brandon Podziemski in acquiring Dennis Schroeder. If the Schroeder trade does nothing else, it at least allows Pods to go back to being Pods, because making him be a primary ball handler, it just wasn't working out. This guy did a lot better as the two guard last season. And we've seen him in that role since Schroeder has come back, or not come back, but since the Warriors acquired Schroeder. And Brandon Podziemski has been able to move back into that off-ball role where he can still handle the ball in some situations, but he's not primarily, dominantly orchestrating the offense and being that ball handler. And it allows him to do all of the other things that he's so good at doing, all those like freelance plays that he likes to try and make that are sort of similar. We talked about this a lot last season during the Warriors playoff run, but he plays in such a freelance kind of way that reminds me kind of what Draymond Green does. It looks like chaos, but it's organized chaos. And I'm not, obviously, Brandon Podziemski and Draymond Green are two very different types of players, but in the sense of how they see the game, how they move without the ball, and always seem to find themselves around the action. Those are very similar traits that these two players have. And Brandon Podziemski has not been able to really do that this season, I think, because he's been so focused on how he has to run this offense as a point guard instead of just being a basketball player. And he's much better when he can just go be a basketball player as opposed to a point guard. And we saw it tonight. Brandon Podziemski, 6 boards, a couple of assists, 3 steals, no turnovers, and most importantly, just no really dumb plays on offense where he just looked lost and would pick up his dribble in weird situations and not have any outlet pass to go to and getting up bad shots. And other than that, his 3-point shooting has looked really nice. He only took 1 tonight, but in recent games, I think this month he's over 40% shooting from 3. So he's been very, very solid lately with his shooting and decision-making as well. And that's something that is very important for this Warriors team. Brandon Podziemski earned the nickname the Great Connector from Steve Kerr last year for a reason. When this guy plays well, he is one of the best glue guys in the NBA. But you need more. Again, Brandon Podziemski playing well, Trayce Jackson-Davis playing well. It's all nice. Dennis Schroeder adds another dimension to this team. It gives them another ball handler. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you need another body that can go get you 20 to 25 points on a night when Steph only goes 2 of 13 from the field. And that's not going to be Brandon Podziemski. As much as I like what this guy does in all the other aspects of basketball, he's not going to be a dominant scorer, a guy that you can lean on for points in the NBA. Jonathan Kuminga is the closest thing that the Warriors have to a number 2 scorer right now, and that is just not good enough to get to the playoffs in the NBA's Western Conference. It's just not. You got to figure out what you can do to go get some additional star power here in Golden State, trade whoever you have to that is not named Stephen Curry, and go chase another deep playoff run. Go add more talent to this team because it is clearly talent deficient. I mean, you have no way to score in the waning moments, in clutch minutes, and the Warriors' record shows that. I mean, they're just not very good in these clutch games. Again, the stats reflect in these clutch minute games, the Warriors still a top 3, top 5 defensive team. Offensively, they're like bottom 5, bottom 10 in almost every measurable category. You got to find someone else who can score at the ends of games. It's as plain and simple as that. If you had another option here tonight, maybe this one's different. This one was very, very, very close. Even the 6-point win by the Pacers feels like it was even closer than that final score. This one really could have gone either way. The Warriors had a couple fewer turnovers in the first quarter, first half. Maybe this one goes a little bit differently. But again, the Warriors just not enough offensive firepower to overcome the Indiana Pacers. And again, credit Andrew Nembhard, who just, plays like a man possessed every time he plays the Warriors. One of those guys who just seems to get up every single time that he plays against Steph Curry. So shout out Nembhard, who locked Curry up all night long. Only 2 of 13 from the field for Steph today. 10 points in this Warriors loss. Again, 111-105 at the hands of the Indiana Pacers. That's all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Warriors play again on Christmas Day versus the Los Angeles Lakers. We'll be coming to you live doing a post game as we always do here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. So make sure you're tuning in for that, making us your first listen following these Warriors games. Until then, happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas, whatever you're doing, whatever you're celebrating. If you're not celebrating, hope you have a fun couple days, and we'll come to you live in a couple days as after the Warriors take on the Lakers. That's all the time we have today. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.